Welcome back, everybody. Garrett with Love in This Land with another beautiful feature for you guys. Today I'm going to be pickling up some of my garlic and some of my peas. I'm going to pickle some of the garlic by itself just to use, and then I'm going to pickle some with peas so that I can have some tasty peas to throw in a stir fry whenever I want. So, pretty standard in pickling. You're going to want a few things. You're going to want your salt, not your iodized table salt. You want anything but iodized. You want sea salt, you want your Himalayan salt, anything like that. We got our 4 Monks apple cider vinegar. I have some vinegars that I've made myself over the past 9 months, but not quite enough that I want to use for this recipe, so we're just going to stick to the apple cider. A lot of times it calls for a white vinegar, but I'm going to throw it's mostly just about the acidity that we're seeking, so I am going to use apple cider for a little bit different flavor. Just went outside and picked some herbs from the garden. We got some chives, some oregano, some cilantro, some parsley, and some sage. We're going to put it in with each of these here. So I'm pickling up 2 types of garlic here. We have our hardneck, which is a little more flavorful, and it's the kind that grows a garlic scape, if you've seen that. And then we have our softneck variety, which stores longer, generally is bigger, but slightly less flavorful, still delicious and potent though. So we're going to be making 4 pint jars of just garlic, and then 1 big quart jar of the peas. We got 2 varieties of peas here, blue potted shilling. They're actually purple, but they're named blue pod. And then we have the green marvel peas, which as you can see are green. I have my Himalayan salt here, and so it came in a rougher form, so I just used my mortar and pestle, ground it down. For this recipe, we're going to be using about 3/8 of a cup. We're going to be using about 1.5 cups of vinegar and the rest in water. We're going to heat it up here, but first things first, I got to shell all this garlic on the right side here, so stay tuned and I'll be back with you guys when that is shelled. Okay, welcome back everybody. It is a week later because I just peeled this mountain of garlic. No, I'm just kidding. It took about an hour, but still an insane amount of garlic peeling. So we have our 2 jars worth of garlic now. Gonna get prepared to actually make the brine to pickle in. So I'm gonna fill up these 2 pint jars with the garlic. Originally I thought I'd have 4 pint jars worth of garlic, but I got 2 pint jars and enough to put a little in with the peas as well. So we're just gonna fill these jars on up. Now if I was gonna be water bathing and sealing them off, I'd want to get it all the way to the top. But as far as this goes, since I have so many herbs, I'm just gonna fill each jar about halfway or so that I can stuff it with herbs as well and finish filling it up. So I've got about half a jar of garlic each, and then I already pre-filled all my peas here. And we're just gonna stick 1 clove in with those peas there. Let's do 2 actually. So we got all 3 of those filled up, and I think as far as these herbs go, most of them I'm not even gonna chop. The chives I'll chop up a little bit just to get them down to size, but for the most part the whole herbs will be fine. This is gonna pickle for about 3 weeks or so that flavor can really set in and get the garlic strong in all of it. So we'll do a little bit of chives in with the peas, chives in with the garlic. Now, I love chives. They're my favorite of the alliums personally, just because they're perennial, they're growing all the time. I can grab them all the time. It's not a process of harvesting and planting. It's just always there whenever I need it, and there's nothing better than that in my opinion. Okay, got all our chives in there. I'm going to put a sage leaf in each of here. Actually, I'm going to do 2 with each of the garlic, and then 1 with the peas, because I don't really want my peas to taste too much like garlic. Got some parsley here, chop that up. Just a little bit, just because it's big. A little bit in there, a little bit in there, a little bit in there. Now for the cilantro. Now, cilantro is kind of a trickster. A lot of people think of it as a warm weather crop because it's so associated with Hispanic food and warm weather type food. But it actually grows much better during the cold because mine is already going to flower right now, as is most people's. And I'm going to continue letting it go to flower so it can self-seed and start spreading itself throughout the garden. But most of my other type of herbs that flower, they kind of lose their flavor as they flower. A lot of things get really poor flavor as they flower, such as basil. Mint gets a little funny when it flowers, but the cilantro is still a very powerful smell and scent when it flowers. So that's one great benefit of you know, having such a diverse amount of herbs. Some of them are in season and going to flower and not necessarily tasting great anymore, but you kind of just got to work what you have within season. We've gotten so used to this idea that we can have anything at any time, and it's not realistic. This is all the oregano, and I'm going to use a lot of oregano because I like it. It's a really just fresh, clean flavor to me, not overpowering. The oregano is also going to flower right now, and last year when it went to flower, it spread all over the place. Now we got volunteer oregano coming up in so many places of the garden, which I love. I mean, when your weeds are oregano, sunflowers, chives, and tomato plants, I think you're in a pretty good spot personally. So we got some oregano there. Some oregano there. Let's stuff some in with the peas. Okay. So, we are good to go. We got all the herbs in there with the garlic. We got all the herbs in there with the peas. Now, I have this here pot with my ladle. For this recipe, since we're dealing with about a half a gallon worth of space to fill up here, the amount of brine that we're going to create uses 2.5 cups of vinegar. And again, depending on, you know, how you like to start messing with your flavors, for first time trying this out, you might still want to use a white distilled vinegar, just because apple cider is a little bit different. So I'm doing it because I know I will enjoy the flavor, but you may not, so you might want to do something more base along with the white distilled vinegar. So we got the 2.5 cups of vinegar, the 2.5 cups of water, and then we're going to need about 1/4 cup of this salt here. So as I said, I've mortar pestle ground it down. Get some in our scooper here. Alright, I'm going to get this warming up on the stove, and I will bring you guys back in to join me when it is almost ready to pour into the jars. Alright, so we've boiled our brine, we've packed our jars. Now it's time to fill the jars up with the brine and seal them up and finish the job. So, I'm just going to take some gloves for the first bit, since these are pretty wide-mouthed jars. Shouldn't be an issue to just pour them in rather than ladling. Perfect fit. So, we now have all this full, and all this full. So now what we want to do is pack it all down, make sure any air bubbles get popped up, And then we'll wipe the lid of the jar to dry it off so we can get a good seal, and we should be all wrapped up. Just make sure all those air bubbles are out. Air is what's gonna rot your food. That looks good. Oh, that's interesting. The hot water is stripping out some of the color from the purple peas, so the liquid in here is turning a real pink, more so than the garlic jar. Is very interesting. Alright, so we are all covered on air bubbles. Now it's time to wipe the lids, or the rims I should say. The lids are dry. Make sure all those are nice and dry. This is more essential when you're doing canning, just to ensure that you're getting a good seal. But with these, I'm not actually sealing them off. I'm just placing them in the refrigerator. With a pickling recipe like this, it's not actually shelf stable. I'm not going to keep this unrefrigerated at any point in time. I'm going to refrigerate these for the next 3 weeks, and then they'll be set up in flavor, and they'll only get better from there. But they recommend at least 3 weeks just to let all those flavors set up. And at that point, we'll be ready to eat, and they'll be ready to store for about 4 months. So isn't that just gorgeous? We got our garlic and all our herbs there. The reason I do this, again, is because some of the outer layers of the garlic had rotted off, or it started deteriorating, so just wasn't for sure that I'd be able to store garlic for the 9 months that I'd ordinarily like to. So this is what we're doing instead, and this should keep for at least 4 months. So again, Garrett with Loving This Land. I always do. Stay tuned for the next one. Should be giving a tour of the garden over in Chelan this weekend. Have a good night, everybody.